Good morning, actually. You are at a Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. It is 11:01 a.m. Wausau City Hall Council Chambers. We have a quorum present and one member potentially arriving here shortly. First item for consideration is the minutes of our preceding meeting of October 7th, 2025. Would entertain a motion on the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Gelhar, motion. Second. There we go. From Hadley. Any comments, changes, updates on that? Is your mic on? Is your mic on? I'm sorry, I can't hear you over here.
Okay, I do have some questions on the minutes, but it all regards the solar array project. So
Okay,
just
is this,
numbers
if it's
and
something
things.
we should
So I have a
correct on
question.
the minutes,
Well,
we should.
I don't know. I'm wondering which
Watch
is
it, throw them at us now
correct.
then.
Okay. So here, the cost here, first of all, it's up to 1.18 million, is that right? What is that? And this is just on the solar array minutes, is my question. And then the project cost here is 2.5. And in our discussion, it's 2.8. So what is it?
Our actual
Okay.
estimate for the solar project is just shy of 2.8.
2.8?
Yes.
Okay, and it's up to the 1.18 million planning, design, investigation? Where did that number come from? Can I ask?
Is that in the minutes here too? Is that what you're looking at, Deb?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
I'm
minutes.
looking at number 7,
So,
discussion on number 7 in the minutes.
okay, it's on the wrong one.
Up to 1.18.
1.8 million, what?
Oh, I think that is the grant, actually. Maybe that's not worded very well, but the grant is up to $1.18 million.
And this grant is coming from where?
It's a EPA grant.
An EPA.
Yes.
Okay, is that the EPA grant that they just terminated, but now they're fighting in court? But then they just resolved it and extended it, but now they're back in court? Is that this court? Is that this one? The $7 billion that they pulled back on completely, entirely?
I haven't seen that the grant we applied for has been pulled back at all.
Is there more than one? This is the solar array $7 billion allocation from the
Yeah,
federal
I
government. Through the
think
EPA.
so. Yeah, and I'm quite certain between the Inflation Reduction Act, the EPA allocations, and, there's a slurry of funding out there that was potentially for it. I don't know if the grant we applied for, I didn't get an email saying it was not eligible, but it's still being considered. So I couldn't tell you if
Yet
it's
the
tied.
money is gone.
I don't know. That could be some money completely different. I don't know. But usually when something happens with grants, once we apply, we'll get a notice if there's an issue with the grant. I haven't gotten a
Probably in the
notice.
courts, so they're probably not sending out anything because everyone's suing everyone here.
It could be, but maybe they just will delay any announcements. But I haven't gotten any notices.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you've got 2.5, but you said the project is actually 2.8, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then you also have in here, I was kind of wondering about this, where are all the timelines? Who's giving you all these timelines? It has to be done here, it has to be done here, it has to be done here. If you don't have anything back from the EPA, and then I went to Power Up Wisconsin, which is the Wisconsin program that gives you money for this solar party. They're not doing anything until the end of the year, end of 2025, so they're not even online yet. So where are all these timelines created? Why is it always like you have to do this and you can't bid it because you don't have time to bid it? And
This is from the tax credit laws that had changed once the new bill was approved. And so the tax credits for the solar, right? The 30% tax credits.
Okay, and those 30% tax credits come from the EPA, you're saying? Or where do these tax credits come from? I'm just confused by the whole timeline here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they could become, I'm certain that they come from the EPA, but I don't know if they're, I don't know if they come through the state or they come directly from the EPA.
How do we know we're on this timeline if they're not on a timeline and no money is flowing?
Well, I don't know what you're reading there as far as the $7 billion. I mean, that's a whole different situation, but
That's for all solar array programs.
Yeah.
The federal government had allocated $7 billion.
Right.
For that, the EPA
yeah.
had allocated that money, and now they just took it away. But then they're in courts, and they put it back, and now they're back in court. So I'm just kind of wondering, everything always seems like it's on a timeline, so it gets pushed out there.
Yep.
Without true research on this whole thing. Now,
Well, we do. The tax credits are expiring, right? And so, and they set those deadlines. And so the 30% tax credits, if we do not have significant construction started by July 4th of 2026, we will no longer be eligible for the 30% tax credit, 30 to 50% tax credits. Yep.
But yet you're still borrowing 2.8, the whole cost of that project.
That's what was approved by the city council in the budget.
Okay. So they approved the whole thing, even though you might be getting 30 up to 50%
Right.
back. Okay, so then what?
Well, then we would just not borrow the remaining, whatever we get in grants.
That would actually happen?
Well,
I mean, it's in the budget.
yeah, I mean, 'cause-
That's good. Maybe we should get into this when we're on that topic. To clean,
what I said.
But to clean up the 2.8 versus 2.5, we can do. Are there any other
Well,
corrections?
that was just my questions, because I've been, I'm not going to support that, but I just have a lot of questions about it. And they started with the minutes. And
Right.
now-
So we've got some notes that Gina's taken,
Okay.
and with those technical cleanups here on the dollar amounts, we should probably get a little more into each part of that in the discussion on, is that on the, coming up here?
Yeah,
On the
it's
director's
coming up
report.
next.
Under
yeah.
director's report, okay.
After the one.
So,
Yep.
let's do that. Let's get
Comment-
this
comment,
approved.
Mayor?
So we have a motion to approve with the,
We have a motion to approve the minutes, but I have further comments.
you have further comments? Mr. Force?
So that sentence that Deb pointed out, up to 1.18 million, comma, the estimated cost of the project is 22.5 million. I don't think that sentence should stand. It's very confusing. And anyone reading the minutes, by a month or a year from now is going to be just as confused as we are by that statement. So I would like the secretary to redraft that sentence so that it makes, so that it's more readable, more understandable.
I think that makes sense. So that 1.8, we'll just clarify that that's the
Please
potential
clarify
grant
that.
amount.
With that, I'm fine
Yep.
with the minutes.
Yep.
Potential grant of up to, with an estimated total cost of 2.8.
Yep.
Okay, with those changes, Gina, you've got those? All right. With a motion and a second with those changes, all those in favor of accepting the minutes in that format signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we have the director's report on utility operations. And we got 5 items to discuss. Eric, you want to get us going on lead service update?
Sure. We'll start on the lead service line. As of mid-November, we were looking at about 2,135 lead service lines replaced within the city. At this point, 2026, we are looking at doing another 1,600 to 1,700. And we did get a draft announcement of the funding. There is currently proposed 100% principal forgiveness on the private side again. With the public side, I don't know if we're going to get any principal forgiveness on the public side for 2026. The final numbers haven't come out from the DNR yet. So if anyone has any specific questions on lead service line?
I would just like to comment, since we're on this topic. We had our residential property done about a month ago, and I was very pleased with the way that the contractor went about the replacement. It was very efficient. The disturbance of the property was minimal, and I watched the entire process, and I thought it was an extremely professional operation. So, as a resident and as a commissioner, I'm pleased with what's going on.
Thank you.
I think for 2025, they were planning on working into December. I think with the way the weather's turned, we're starting to get frost in the ground in the streets, so I don't think we'll be doing any more services until spring or late winter, and they're gonna spend the rest of their time, maybe the next week or two, on just putting in temporary concrete and patching things up for the winter. So it's getting pretty tough to work out there.
It was 12 degrees when I left this morning, so frost is digging in.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, up next is what do we have? There's we can get into the solar.
Yeah.
Array
so
project
B
and
is the
next
solar
steps.
project. So I think that I can kind of go over the steps that we're at right now, right? So again, we'll clear up the minutes that were discussed. I think the estimated cost of the project is $2.8 million. The city council did approve to borrow up to that $2.8 million with the intent that any grants and any tax credits that we would get back would reduce that amount of borrowing for the project. And we are looking at doing a sole source request to the Finance Committee on December 9th due to the tight timelines for the tax credits, as we had discussed a little bit earlier. In order for us to get into design and then through our bidding process and everything and get started in April, May, we're going to have to forego any competitive professional services design for that. Clark Dietz has been the engineering firm that has been working with us on the planning and the layout and the concepts of that work to date.
So Clark Dietz, I'm sorry.
Question from Mr. Force.
I should know this, but I haven't seen the final proposed layout. Did we decide that, or maybe we haven't made a decision on where the solar panels themselves will go? Do they go east of the plant, between the plant and the street, where we had the neighborhood concerns before? Or are we using the property to the north of the plant? There were some comments a year or so ago about the quality of that ground, whether it could be used or not. Where are we going with the solar panels? Do we know? Or is that a design issue?
It's to the east of the plant, and they'll be on the north side of that property, so they'll be within the city of Wausau. So through the planning process with the solar array task force, what was proposed that came out of that, it is still, that's what was proposed.
And is there a berm or trees between the solar field and that street?
That's what the planning is, and obviously the design hasn't been done yet to what height those are and the type of fence and all of those things. Details will be determined through the design process. Yeah.
Ms. Hadley.
Can I?
Or Jim, did you have something further, Jim? Okay,
Okay.
Yep.
Now, can I just go and I'll just keep asking you questions? Okay?
Go ahead.
I have many more questions on this. So the sole source request is just for the design, right? You're not
Correct.
going anywhere else with that. You have to go to Clark Dietz because you're on a timeline, and they're going to design this for you.
Well, I guess I could go to any engineering firm, but it makes sense to go with them because we've used them through the planning and concept phase already. They're familiar with the site, with the project. They were involved in the solar array task force planning, so it makes sense that,
So you
know.
feel they're competitive.
Yeah,
I see
absolutely.
a sole source, it worries me because I think you lose your competitive edge because nobody's, I mean, they know they don't have any competition, so they can
I
kind
think
of
the
write
one thing to
ticket.
realize about professional services is we don't always select based on costs. We select based on qualifications. And so I'm comfortable with their qualifications and their history working with solar and other projects. And so, yeah.
Okay, so from what we know, and I know this is already passed through, nothing I say here is going to change anything, but I can't support it because the only thing I've heard about this and know about this is two groups that came in here and spoke to its importance. I've never heard a legitimate reason why we need this, why this need is greater than keeping our finances under control. I mean, it's solar energy. How much, and the length of time on a normal panel, it said the length of a panel is like 10 years, the life cycle of a panel. So before you even get this paid off or towards any payback, I mean, what's your return on investment? You'll be replacing panels. And then what is your real return on investment? I've never heard that spoken to here. I've just heard people campaigning for it, and it's a climate change thing. It's a box to check. And that's what concerns me here, particularly at the current financial situation of the city. This is a project that could be tabled until you really had a grasp of it, and everyone understood it. I mean, it's bounced around and, you see a little bit of finance, but you don't really get the whole program. I've talked to Mary Ann about it, really doesn't have the whole program, has some design issues and tells me about that money. But what's the initiative? What's behind this that we really need it? I mean, there's no burning desire. It's like the PFAS. We were good. And now we have all that debt. Now this, again, we're good. We're in this snow belt, for God's sakes.
Well, it was
How much
not
are we
in the
going to
original,
generate here?
was not in the original budget. It was added through an amendment process during the finance budget review sessions. And subsequently, the budget was vetoed and it was not taken out. So
So how do they justify this? This is a $2.8 million, and then they're going to come and ask for a referendum. Where's the justification for this project? Because, I mean, everything I've read on it, geez, good luck. Good luck for your return on your investment, or anything.
So
And
this-
the neighbors don't want it. And, I mean, Wausau doesn't need it. They could develop that land and have all that housing that you're always talking about, and a tax base.
well, in part,
I know I can't do a thing about it, but I think that all should be in the minutes, and they should be aware that there is no real reason for this that I can see. I mean, this is pie in the sky. This is when you have money laying around, nothing else to do with it. And you don't, because I just read that your debt, that your payment on your debt interest is as much as the fire department's budget or something. That's insane. So, Merry Christmas, kids. I disagree.
the debt is large. I thank you for the comments. In part, I think the justification was if they could get the credits, they would see a return on investment. If we didn't, if we got the grant. If we don't get the grant, I think the commitment was that we wouldn't proceed. But you are correct. They did
But
put
now
it
it's
in the
in the
budget.
budget.
It is.
It's in
think-
the budget.
I
And,
think
and that
the-
would be good.
I
if you
think
did
that
get
the
it.
intent was that we would, before we bid and started, committed to that work, is we would bring it back to finance and the city council, right? Because we are going to be, how the city has approved bringing this forward is that we are going to be, they committed dollars to doing planning and design prior to knowing if we're going to have any grant dollars available to offset the project. So but it will come back to finance and council once before.
Why is that happening? Why does that always happen? You're always way ahead of yourself on this kind of thing. And then it picks up a life of its own, and then before you know it, it's debt. It's more debt. I don't get it. I don't understand why and actually, in all of these, this EPA had a really great little handout that told you what, to determine why you should have this, if you need it. And it gave you a whole list of, the process. I haven't found that process anywhere here. I've just heard people going, yeah, we love it. And the person that gave us the white sheet information, I'm not sure what she is here, engineer. She didn't have one statistic in that report, and one okay, this is the life of this is where you're going to get my return, or this, it was just all conjecture on her, an opinion on her point. How do you take this forward and be fiscally responsible? I mean, I think that's our job here too, as Water Commission, to voice those opinions. I get it, but I think in our current situation here, I'd rather have Wausau live and well than a solar array situation going on that nobody really knows what's happening with it. Okay, I'm done now.
Well,
Thank you.
again, I do appreciate the comments, and I think,
I could comment on that, Mayor.
Mr. Force.
I've been on this board for some time. Couple of things, well, more than a couple, I guess, but when I look back at the history of this project, it seems like there was an early commitment to establish an alternative energy site in Wausau, and that Wausau government was a logical place to begin because we had property, we had utility bills at the new water plant. So I think the first thing was there was an interest in developing alternative energy in Wausau. There was also an interest in defraying the cost of operation of the water plant through the addition of the solar panels. We had extensive discussions 2-3 years ago with the neighbors. There was considerable opposition from the immediate neighborhood, but I felt, and I still feel confident that that was addressed adequately through the neighborhood group, and over the last several months, couple of years perhaps, those concerns, at least from my point of view, have been addressed by the design and by the answering of various questions and by clarification of facts about solar installations. So I'm comfortable that we've done the homework here. I'm comfortable that while there will be a cost associated with the process, there will be a payback. I don't know if it's the kind of payback that we always look for, quick, fast. It'll probably be a longer-term payback. But I'm also happy that we're moving ahead with an alternative energy project in the city of Wausau. We're surrounded by these solar projects in other parts of the state. Wood County, the electric company there has just committed to an additional solar field. These are enormous, much larger than the ones we propose. Taylor County has a large solar installation. So there are solar installations operating successfully around us, and I don't have any question or doubt that the solar facility here, if we're able to build it, will also operate successfully. So that's why I've supported it over the years and continue to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Force. Anything further on solar? Okay. Comments noted. Budget mods are possible at any time during the year, up or down. PFAS testing results on effluent and biosolids. Or do you want to take them one at a time, or do we want to open this up for questions on anything that you saw in the director's report?
Yeah, I'm open. As you see, the wastewater facility is testing PFAS results for both our effluent and our biosolids, and so those latest results are in your packet. And we're doing fairly well. If you have anything to add to that, or if you have any specific questions on that.
Yeah. I see we're testing only occasionally, several months going by between tests. Is that the design protocol that's recommended?
Back when Mr. Robinson was on the commission, he had requested that we had do some additional testing to kind of form a baseline of where we are at and what we're potentially up against in the future. So with that recommendation, we did the testing in September. Keep in mind that any testing we do prior to the issuance of the new permit, the final permit, we have to submit those results to the DNR, and they can use those in their calculations. So I'm a little bit reserved on any additional testing.
You're happy with these numbers?
I'm happy with these numbers, especially with the biosolids. The effluent is, it appears that we're going to be okay, but there's always the potential, if we get some outliers, higher numbers, that when the DNR calculates their P99 study calculations for a 1 day and a 30 day, that it might throw us into a pollutant minimization plan. The potential's there, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. But the potential is there, depending on if we get some oddball results, some highs. Hopefully we keep getting lower numbers for results in that.
So
So,
the proposed DNR limit is less than 8 parts per trillion?
correct.
And by proposed, does that mean that it's going to be proposed for years, or they're actually going to establish it?
What's unknown at this time, if they're going to develop a water quality-based effluent limit, which would provide a total maximum daily limit. That's unknown at this time, so they have these numbers in place, these limits in place, these intern limits. Same with the biosolids, they're interim limits at this point. Less than, I believe it's 50. It's on the spreadsheet that I had made.
Less than 20?
There's no action necessary. We can continue to land apply it in the future. That'll be good for this new issuance of the discharge permit term, 5 years. So we should be fine with that until they decide that they want tighter limits. So
Just one more question, Ben. Have we had any of our clients who are receiving our biosolids complain or
we
become
have
concerned?
not. We have not. We hosted it's biosolids pre-meeting with the landowners, provided them with the results and put their minds at rest as far as what concentrations we're seeing in the biosolids. We provided them with the interim limits that the DNR has provided us. So that is a safeguard to the city and the landowners.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else on effluent? Headwater screening project update. Ben, how's that going?
Okay, so it's kind of a slow-moving project if you haven't noticed that yet, but we're waiting on equipment delivery. The new screens should either arrive this week or next week, where Ahern will be able to start the install of the new equipment, the compactors as well. There were some delays on the equipment, some motor malfunctions, so they're kind of waiting on that right now. Once they receive the equipment, they'll be able to proceed. There's other parts of the project too that they're waiting on, so just kind of a slow-moving project. So
That's a contractor issue, huh? A contractor issue?
well, they have a
Yeah.
final completion date of October 2026, I believe it is. So they do have some time, definitely.
I think it's kind of a combination, right, like of equipment getting there. And so there might be certain times when it's really slow, and then once equipment starts arriving, then there'll be more activity and as time goes on, so, yeah.
Definitely.
All right, how about the Cherry Street Lift Station project update?
Sure. Right now, the project is at a standstill until later. The enclosure, the hut where the equipment's going to be kept under, will be delivered on December 10th. I misspoke yesterday. There is a little bit of underground yet to do.
Okay.
The force main has to be constructed yet, so integrity plans they'll still be able to dig. The ground that they have to dig in has been already disrupted, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
For 'em. They're not too concerned about it. Then the above ground work, the piping inside the hut, and that'll take place shortly after December 10th when the enclosure arrives, so definitely. Then they
Good.
have the demo of the old lift station and then site restoration.
Okay. Anything else to add, Eric?
I do not.
All right. Up next is discussion and possible action on the approval of the lead service line replacement reimbursement resolution for the 2026 Safe Drinking Water Loan and Principal Forgiveness. And that is under tab 3 if you've got a binder.
Yeah, so this is the draft resolution now that the budget is passed. And we had the draft amount of funding submitted by the DNR. A total of $18,979,000 is proposed for the city. We're looking at potentially 11 million of that as principal forgiveness and 7.6 as loan. Those final numbers will be coming hopefully at some point here in the next few weeks. I expected them already, but so this is a typical process that allows us to get reimbursed for work that's being done prior to those documents being prepared by the DNR for the loan closing. And so any work that, once this gets approved, any work that we're doing in the 2026 year, then we're allowed to use these funds for that. It's kind of a housekeeping in a process type for all of these safe drinking water and clean water fund loans. And this will go to the finance committee as well. So there'll be a revenue bond with this, just like the 25, there'll be a general obligation bond with this as well, and then the principal forgiveness. So it will ultimately go to council for signature as a joint resolution.
And that's the low interest DNR loan of 0.25.
That's correct, yes. Yep.
All right, entertain a motion to, so we're actually recommending approval here to council.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So entertain a motion to recommend approving this reimbursement resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Hadley
Lead service line replacement reimbursement resolution.
and second.
I'll second that.
And second from Gellar. Okay, Mr. Forrest, we're voting on the
The service
the
line.
resolution, so the, yeah.
Yes.
And it'll go to, does it come from finance yet, or does it still go to finance first?
It will go to finance December 9th, next week.
December 9th, and then
Yes.
on to council.
Then on the council in January, likely.
All right, further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor of approving the lead service line reimbursement resolution for 2026 safe drinking water loan and principal forgiveness signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. And we have some updates. We have Susan from Donahue here to talk about construction updates on safe drinking water loan status update for the granular activated carbon and PFAS treatment project. Susan.
Thank you. You should have received in your packet a memo updating you on the project status. As you know, this has been going on for quite a while. I know you mentioned for another project, like what's taking so long. What we've run into, and some of it still comes from the pandemic, I think. There are changes in supply chains. We just find that there's one particular component, a small electronic component that we're waiting on sometimes. So that slows things up. But the treatment system has now been operational for over a year. We have completed all the other associated work. There were some things that had to be basically staged. Like we couldn't replace all of the filtered water pumps until the granular activated carbon system was up and running, so those are all taken care of. There were also some changes made with the chemical feed system. We added a polymer feed system to help with the pretreatment before the GAC. The city found themselves in a situation where the previous supplier was no longer going to be providing one of the chemicals they were using, so we made some changes with that. All these things have taken time, but like I said, the project is up and running. One of the most recent things that was taken care of was the air release valves. There are 2 air release valves on each of the 12 vessels, so 24 valves. Those valves were leaking, which they should not leak. And so the contractor did get those replaced. We still have a few that are not behaving, and so the contractor will be working on that, but there was no cost to the city for that. So I just wanted to give you, a budget update. Overall, the project is well under the budget, the funding that was available for it. If you recall, there was not only the Safe Drinking Water loan, but also a substantial amount of grant funding provided for this project. So yeah, I gave you an update on the budget, just one remaining change order, hopefully, and just the outstanding issues. But like I said, the correction of the leaking air release valves is largely fixed. There are, I think last count was 4 that are still having some problems. We are planning to coat the floor in structure 120. That will just help with the long-term maintenance. What happens with GAC is if you don't get a safe bacteria sample, you can't use chlorine to disinfect the granular activated carbon because it damages the carbon. So then you have to use a caustic rinse, which had to be done with one of the vessels and damaged the floor. That was one of those things where, coating the concrete floor was not within the original budget, or, we were trying to be conservative with costs, so we didn't include it, but DNR is willing to allow us to do that with the loan. There was an issue with the VFDs on the filtered water pumps and how the VFDs are working with the backup generator, so we're making a correction there. There's one adjustment to an allowance for testing, and then the biggest remaining issue is this process waste tank, which is currently still under negotiation. So just wanted to give you an update on the budget there. And then the next thing to come is to be changing out the GAC here now. Test results are showing that the PFAS is moving through the granular activated carbon vessels. And so the intent would be to start that process now. We have learned from DNR that we can use reactivated carbon, which means that we can take the carbon that's in the current vessels. It's all kept segregated and it goes to a certified facility where it is basically heated. They burn off the PFAS and scrub the air. And then the material is brought back. And so that is about a 20% savings over replacing the carbon with new carbon. And of course, when you factor in the transport and everything.
Thank you. Question from Mr. Force.
Do we know where this regeneration facility is?
So,
Who's doing it?
yeah, we're working with several different vendors. One of the facilities is in Oklahoma, and one of the facilities is in Pennsylvania. So unfortunately, we don't have anything close by, unless Scott, I think the one in Calgon is in Pennsylvania, so as is one of the other vendors. So yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing close by,
I'm
so
aware of that.
trucking
It's
is,
trucking.
yeah.
Okay. And when we regenerate a load, do we insert a virgin load in replacement? And where does that come from?
Yeah, so great question. Yes, so to start the whole process, you remove the used carbon from a vessel, you replace it with virgin carbon. So yeah, that would be part of the contract in the process, that contract or that vendor would be providing one or maybe two new vessels of carbon. We're just trying to figure out some of the logistics. In some cases, it would be more efficient to replace two vessels at a time, because then they can keep the amount of carbon is more efficient. Like, they want to segregate the load of carbon or the carbon from Wausau, and so it's more efficient to do two at a time just based on the amount of carbon you have, because it fills up their kiln.
And refresh my memory, how many? Do we have 4?
Vessels?
6?
12.
Well, okay.
Yeah, six sets or six systems of two vessels each one in a lead lag configuration. So right now we would be removing the carbon from a lead vessel, then that vessel becomes the lag vessel, the lag vessel becomes the lead vessel, we flip them. But anyway, to answer your question, yeah, we're working out some of those logistics and just trying to make it the most efficient process as possible. But so then the vendor would provide replacement carbon for that one or two vessels, and that would meet the same spec as the carbon that was originally installed. And then ultimately, that one or two vessels would be stored by the city in like super sacks on site, or it could be stored by the vendor until you're ready for it.
So what was the initial cost? Was that $1 million to do the whole thing? Or is that, what did they suggest that this was going to cost to replace this?
The GAC replacement, yeah, we've been at that somewhere between like $800,000 to $1 million for that, the change out of the material.
So the 20% is 8 or $1 million?
Right. And we weren't, going into this initially, we were not sure if DNR was going to allow that reactivated carbon, but they've said you can do it. And there is a process that the American Water Works Association, has like guidance standards for carbon reactivation. So, I mean, it's not like this is a new thing. Like, there is a process and procedure.
An ongoing a yearly cost, or however this is going to happen, right? How often do you have to do this? Well, when
Yeah,
happens,
it looks
right?
like
When
it's about every year.
Yeah.
Yearly cost?
And then there'll be a timeline, right? If we're only doing one or two at a time, right? So it'll be several months to replace all of them, so,
It'll be,
yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on flow, it depends on, but hopefully we can get it, we can time it so we can budget and we can plan better.
Yeah,
Right.
Thank you, Susan. Anything else?
thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, up next for update is an update on the proposed WPDES draft permit for the wastewater treatment facility. And Ben, you talked a little bit about that. Wanna help get us going on that.
So we received our draft permit on November 3rd, in which the DNR allows us exactly 1 week to respond and provide comment with factual inaccuracies of the draft. So that's a short amount of time to go through a lot of documentation, but I had Municipal Environmental Group review it, along with Eric, myself, Kevin Fable. We came up with some preliminary comments, and the reason they do that is to find any discrepancies or any grammatical errors, if you will, so they can make the changes on the draft permit before they actually send it out for the next step of the process, which is public notice and comment. So we're into that period currently. We have till December 22nd when the public notice comment period ends at 4:30 p.m. During that time, the public can make comment, the city can make comment, provide factual comments that where we contest anything within the draft permit. If they find it factual, they'll make the changes. If not, everything that is in the draft remains. There are some, we're currently reviewing it right now. Donahue Engineering's reviewing it, myself. I've sent it through AI, Microsoft comparable, so I'm just trying to find anything that comes up that might be factual. So at the end of the comment period, public notice period, the DNR reviews all comments received. Anything factual, as I mentioned, they'll make the adjustments on the final issuance of the permit. So they're hoping to have the final issued by January 1st, 2026. And that's when everything within this draft we have to comply with. We're required to test, like on the effluent, it's once every 2 months, and on the biosolids, it's annual. So not a lot of required testing on that end. For the effluent and biosolids, it'd be 2 years worth of data they collect to form their calculations and on limits in that. So that's pretty much all I have right now for an update where we're at.
All lights green right now, hopefully. Any questions for Ben?
Any changes, Ben, that you foresee? Any significant differences between the new permit and the old?
Right now, what I'm seeing is the PFAS testing on the effluent and the biosolids. They went from fecal coliform testing on the effluents for the bacteria counts to E. coli. It's a better method to determine that we're meeting, it's a better indicator of the pathogens that are in the wastewater for the recreational users of the Wisconsin River. So that's not a big deal. We did preliminary testing and we're well below the limits that they want to impose.
No change in phosphorus?
No change in phosphorus, no.
I think for the most part, we're as happy as you can be, right? Like with the permit and the requirements that are in it. I don't think, there's still some unknowns with the PFAS, which is, can be concerning. And we'll see how that evolves over time. I think it was nice to see that our phosphorus limits were staying the same. We've been doing very well on that. The other thing that I think is beneficial that way is that they didn't lower them was because we are currently working with a consultant right now, not only on a stormwater utility, but looking at potential trading in-house with our stormwater compliance. So if we're below our limit and we have so many pounds a year that we're discharging less than what we're allowed, then we're hoping to get those credits back, in-house. They do have a trading clearinghouse where you can trade with farmers and outside the city and stuff, but I don't know that our users would be really happy with us using our revenue rates outside the city. So if we could do something internally, that would be beneficial on the stormwater side because our wastewater treatment plant is operating very, very well. So, yeah.
Anything further? Okay, before we adjourn, I just announced our next meeting is scheduled for January 6th at 11 a.m. And just one other housekeeping item is, as you see this week with the draft permit, a pretty hefty packet. We're also using a new agenda software called Civic Plus. Have we had, how have you, I guess I'll just poll you here publicly, have you been able to get the information downloaded or at least in a timely fashion that you can use it? Do we need to do?
Program?
Yes.
Yeah, I had no problem getting it. I went out there, I used to.
Okay.
It worked very well.
Okay.
Oh, you had the attachment right there so you could click on. You made it really convenient. But yeah, it worked nice. I like the new format.
You do?
I do.
Good to hear. Good feedback.
Not that matters, but
I just want to make sure people are getting it and you're not seeing this 2 hours before the meeting and we have a lot to digest. So that's working fine. Okay. Thank you. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Motion from Hadley,
I'll second.
second from Gelhardt. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
See you later.
Who do they use for AI? What program are they using? Do you know? Okay, Copilot, okay, I was just wondering about that. Okay, Okay, and ChatGPT, yeah. That ChatGPT is crazy stuff, though, isn't it? Oh, my gosh, you just have a thought and they're done with it. It's like, it is scary. We're all going to be replaced in no time at all. And it's a good thing, but a very bad thing. Because they could own us. That's right. They're going to own us someday.
That's kind of same. I mean, I think they would say something.
Right. They're all like, I brought that up in our exchange on it, and they're all like, "Well, it all just depends on your water." It's like, wait a minute.
It just seems odd that they would say something.
It was a valve selection issue that came as part of the equipment. So, yeah, they have like a ball in them, so yeah, basically but the problem is in this situation is you go out to the clear well, there's a small difference in pressure, so they didn't select the valve. Well, the valve is supposed to be low for allowing that difference in pressure. But when the clear well level fluctuated, I think it's really easy to jump. But so this was all on the vendor. Well, actually not enough back pressure. There was back pressure to see the valve. So it was information that, the vendor, it was part of their system, the aqueous vet system. So they did take responsibility